Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this online webinar. And I'm really sorry, we just had a technical issue, so halfway through the video cut off. However, we're here to talk to the International Solar Alliance today, and I'm really excited because this is going to be a great session. So I'd like to, in the first place, ask Ahmed to please give his introduction speech from the MESIA point of view. As you know, MESIA is the co-organizers of this session, and then we'll actually begin with the session itself. So Ahmed, if you can please take the microphone of your screen so that we can hear you, that'd be great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Okay, good afternoon or good morning to all, or good evening to all the team members and the members who are joining us. And thanks again for giving us the opportunity to interact with you. I would like to give a big welcome to His Excellency, Mr. Upendra Tripathy, Director General of International Solar Alliance. And of course, this is a very good opportunity for both organizations to talk to each other. As you know, the industry has become dominant for the last few years, despite many doubts from many people 5 or 6 years ago when all this started. MESIA turned 10 years, in 2019, and it started as a club. It was a club of a couple of amateurs, who wanted to introduce the industry and started to put a platform for networking. And over 10 years, it has become a very, credible platform for networking and creating, knowledge-based programs. And as the industry grew, more and more challenges were to introduce the industry to the right stakeholders and keep really following the pace of what is changing in terms of technology, in terms of players, in terms of risk management, etc., etc. And at all times, MESIA has helped the Middle East significantly to do that. Today, we see an industry consolidation. On top of that, of course, this pandemic situation, digitization is becoming into play. Local content emphasis from different countries across the world who have realized the value of the renewable energy and what kind of jobs it can create, plus other platform of industries and technologies. In our region, and I'm sure all over the world, in particular, of course, in India as well, a huge future outlook for these platforms. We are very excited today to also be associated with the success story of International Solar Alliance. And we would like to take the opportunity to welcome Mr. Tripathy to give us, his insight about how this is working in India, or maybe how the inspiration, the vision of International Solar Alliance continues to support the mission of the renewable energy, and particularly the solar. We move forward. Geographically, India and the Middle East are close, and many of the stakeholders also are playing in the same markets across. So the floor is yours, Doctor, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. And yes, I agree. Thank you very much, MESIA, for putting this together. I'd like to thank you, Ahmed, and also all of your organization. This is a great opportunity to speak to one of the people who've led the development of solar from the very beginning. And I want to say, in a way, MESIA has shown us the way, because the solar energy prices, they've really come down really strongly in the Middle East. But anyway, it's not my place to talk. I'd just like to introduce you. I have the great pleasure of introducing Mr. Upendra Tripathy. He's the former secretary to the government of India in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. He has contributed towards achieving 175 gigawatts target of solar, and also in putting together policies that transform India's renewable energy sector between 2014 and 2016. He has headed numerous institutions, such as the Solar Energy Corporation of India, SECI, the National Institute of Solar Energy and National Institute of Wind Energy, National Institute of Bioenergy, Association of Renewable Energy Agencies of States, and the International Solar Energy Alliance. I think you've headed more institutions than anyone that has ever spoken in any of these events. And more than 36 years of experience come with a job well done and a lot of recognition. Amongst other prizes, Mr. Tripathy has received the PM's Award for Excellence in Public Administration, an Extraordinary Citizens Award for the Rotary International in 2008, Central Board of Irrigation and Power Award in 2016, and also an award for outstanding contribution to in the renewable energy sector, the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016, and so on. I honestly, I think it's been a long time before since we have someone with so many awards and things to say, about the industry. So, Mr. Tripathy, please, if you are ready, please go ahead and tell us about what you're doing right now and what the International Solar Alliance is doing. Thank you. Sir, I'd just like to ask you to unmute your microphone.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and my thanks to Martin Mamluk, the Secretary General, and Mr. Ahmed Nada, the President. I always love to interact with the industry because we believe that without the help, assistance, and guidance of the industry, things that we cherish will not come through. And if you have not heard much about ISA, this is a pretty young international organization and quote unquote without membership fee. And we have 69 member countries. And recently there was an amendment which is yet to come into force. So all 193 countries can be our members. It's called the universalization of membership. As of today, we have United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Egypt, and Algeria, our members. And they have been actually, sort of friend, philosopher, and guide, because United Arab Emirates is the IRENA, and we have been closely involved with IRENA as a sister organization. And what is our mission? What that is we promise to do, or what is that is enshrined in the Constitution that we have. It's a small 9-page document. And this gives all that the ISA stands for. And the preamble starts, the Paris Declaration on the International Solar Alliance of 30th November 2015, and the shared ambition to undertake joint efforts required to reduce the cost of finance. And that is a critical thing, because the industry would love to see the cost of finance coming down. India, particularly, if you look at renewable energy projects, the cost of finance is the costliest, given the cost of land and labor. And I continue, and the cost of technology. We must reduce the cost of technology. That is how the industry will benefit, and things will go to the grassroots level. And the third thing that the framework agreement says, mobilize more than 1,000 billion of investments needed by 2030 for massive deployment of solar energy and pave the way for future technologies adapted to the needs of the member countries. So this is in our webpage. In fact, you can see the smallest document of 9 pages, which is the Constitution. And as per this, the 69 member countries that we have a good governance structure. As of now, India is the president, and the president is for 2 years. Recently, India was elected as the president for the second time. France is the co-president. Since inception, both India and France have have played a lead role in creating and nurturing the International Solar Alliance. And that apart, below the Assembly, which is the constitutional body of all members taking all major decisions, like selecting the Director General, approving the work plan or the budget. We have a standing committee, which has 10 member countries, India and France. And rest of the 8 members come from 4 regions. We have 1 African region, we have Europe and others, we have Asia Pacific, and we have Latin America. So as of now, we have Guyana and Cuba as 2 vice presidents from Latin American region. We have Niger and Mauritius from African region. We have Fiji and Nauru as vice president from Asia Pacific. And we have the UK and the Netherlands from the European region. So you can find out the governance structure is very broad based. And as I told you, we have 3 goals: reduce the cost of finance, which is good for industry; reduce the cost of technology, which is good for industry; and mobilize more than $1,000 billion. And there is a lot of diplomatic negotiation to get this figure in the beginning, $1,000 billion, because, the internationally we say we need $5,000 billion to do no-risk climate projects. And this is a good news for industry. The more money comes to the sector, it is better for the industry. So more than $1,000 billion. And mostly we look at, what we do. We would like to solarize, the whole civilization, if you tell it. For last 5,000 years, sun has played a very important role. And in fact, this morning, I had a presentation I was making to some 80-odd Indian officers in a virtual mode. And I showed them three things. One was this watch of mine. If you can see, it's a small watch. But that dark thing you see has a small solar panel in it. And for the last 4 years, I haven't used a battery. And I'm told there are some 27 billion watches. But if you think the entire world goes for these, solar watches, how many batteries will save? And how much investment will bring in? How much employment will create? And then I showed a second thing that, it was little, I showed them a statue of Einstein. And everybody was wondering, why I was showing the statue of Einstein. And then everybody found this hand keeps on moving. And it has no electric connection. It has a small panel again at the feet. And even ordinary home lights, that makes it move. Now, if we take Einstein into a broader thing for the industry, how do they look at it? We can think this as a solar toy or home electronics, but look at the implication for the industry. And then I showed them third thing, there is a very common between us all. Some of you use, one mobile phone. This is a small gadget. You can hold it together. Otherwise, it is not a, instrument or anything. But this, if you put a panel spread over, foldable, you can solarize the power system. You don't have to, actually, put it to a socket and use thermal energy. And there are some 7 billion of these smartphones world over. Some 500,000 megawatt hour of power they consume. Each one of us has one or two phones. But think the industrial implication of these things that ISA would like to make it a part of the solar revolution. We're talking about solar watches, we're talking about solar toys, we're talking about solar phones. And this is a micro level I'm talking about. And so if you think the potential of for the industry is tremendous, and these are only three symbols I put because, this watch symbolizes speed. We can take a project and go for 5 years, 10 years. People don't like it. Ministers don't like projects to get delayed. You, of course, won't like it because it has cost implications. And the statue stands for skill. He's the person who told E equals square, such a small formula which talks about the relationship between mass and energy. And that is skill, how we get skill. And this is about the scale I talked, 7 billion, and ever growing numbers. So for industry, three things are very critical and which ISA keeps in mind. All our programs, projects, future projections are led by three principles. And as I told you, one is for speed. That is why I showed the tiny watch having a solar component. And skill, where I projected Einstein's mind. We need new technologies, new skill sets, and of course, scale. So taking these three things into account, we are trying to, bring in a new paradigm for energy transition. None of us likes to know that 2 billion women today in the 21st century, when the world economy is of $78 trillion, are without access to clean cooking medium. I come from a small hamlet in the east coast of India. It has hardly 70 houses. It's a lovely place with mountains. But I know how families, have, of course, now things are much better. They have, access to LPG and all that. But otherwise, collecting firewood, it was pretty difficult for them. Clean energy access was not there. There was no electricity some time back. And not only 2 billion women who are relatively deprived, poor, and they don't have access. And it can be viewed as that, or it can be viewed as a potential future market. If there are 2 billion women who can be changed, transformed to be our customers, the industry will greatly benefit. And same is the issue with 700 million people who have no access to electricity. And World Bank has come up with a dire prediction that do whatever you want, whether industry or ISA or IRENA or UN. At the end of 2030, still there will be left some 700 million people or 600 million people without access to energy. This means it is really critical and crucial. And I mean, in a sense, it's not moral that we know there is a problem and we can't do anything. And that is where ISA comes in, keeping that paradigm of scale, and speed in mind. So what we propose to do, how we can actually partner with the industry, because I told in the beginning that without industry, we can't do much. Whether it's a small industry or medium industry or big industry. And so our framework agreement, which I showed you in the beginning, has a provision. And it is very critical, because most of the international organizations, their partnership with industry is limited. And this framework agreement says, and I read, in this endeavor, members cooperate closely and strive for establishing mutually beneficial relationships with relevant organizations, public and private stakeholders, and with non-member countries. So the private industry, the corporate sector, gets a prominent role in the ISA framework itself. So there are three ways we bring this industry with us. A, we formulate projects and programs where the industry gets a roadmap. Let me first go to that, what do you do? In seven, we have got 7 programs. The first one is about solar pumps. We would like 1 million solar pumps to be converted to solar. This is, of course, it will create investment, it will bring in, it will create employment, it will be environment friendly. Now, this 1 million pumps, when we are talking about, it requires solar panels, it requires controllers, it requires pumps, it requires mechanics to maintain it. And it entirely is an industrial enterprise for the entire world. Sorry. But we do in a different way also. What we did, initially we wrote a letter to all the ministers, and ministers would love to give solar pumps to the farmers. We asked countries, would you like to help your farmers? And when they came in, totally we added for the demand for these 22 countries, it came to 272,000 solar pumps. And the trick we did, we went for a price discovery tender. Many companies participated, some from India and some from outside. But at the end, we found that the prices have come down by 40%. The stakeholders are happy, the countries are happy. The financing agencies have got pre-feasibility report made by us. And this is only one example, of how we create a roadmap for the industry. The pump manufacturers will get a better market. The manufacturers of panels will, get a market. And the farmers will, of course, benefit a lot, because with, assured water supply, the income level changes, and it is a multiplier effect for the market. And that is not the only example, what we did. We are now in the middle of a second tender, a global tender. It is for 47 million home lighting system. You must be wondering what a home lighting system is. It has 3 sets. One set for 100 watts, 200 watts, and 300 watts, the third set. It has 5 LED bulbs, a charge controller, a mobile charger. It has a fan. It has a solar TV, and maybe some solar refrigeration unit. And these 47 million we have divided over 5 years, 9 million, and 45 million LED bulbs. Now, aggregation of demand like this, is a mechanism to create an industry roadmap for the financing agencies, for the industry, and of course for ISA, because ultimately we're talking about universal energy access. We're talking about universal energy security. So I only gave you these 2 examples, but in our roadmap, we can go for, 20,000 megawatt of solar parks, which have started. We can go for thousands and thousands megawatt of mini grids. We can go for thousands and thousands megawatt of rooftop solar. And we have a program in storage, between the solar revolution that I, talked in the beginning, showing how speed, skill, and scale are important. You will find that whether we talk about the storage and the solar e-vehicles and solar parks, another program. And recently we have a solar cooling program also. We are starting in Chad, Senegal, and Nigeria, because the way demand for cooling and heating is going up. And heating is very critical because if you look at the physics of the solar energy, it is not that the electron is same, but then, we get the electron because of, photons. But it's a very green electricity, solar electricity we are talking about. But the logic, the physics of exploiting solar energy is pretty limited in a sense that we are only using the visible range of light. But the potential to exploit solar energy is a lot more. Thermal energy, the utilization of the heat energy. So if you look at industry and ISA, both together, can not only, go on solar technologies available today, but jointly can have a roadmap to bring in more and more technologies, which will help us together to exploit more and more of the sun rays we are seeing. And I mean, sun is such a benign God, 4.5 billion years old. Another 4.5 billion years is going to live and move. And it doesn't charge anything for input energy. The input cost, it will still remain, almost zero. And we are talking about, grid parity, kerosene parity, the cost, and we're talking about near zero cost. And when I say near zero cost, it doesn't mean industry will give free supply without any charging anything. The payback period goes up a little, but then the life of the panels goes longer. The efficiency goes up. So we get back the invested money, at a much less shorter period. So when I say the cost is going down, at the same time, we are talking about the efficiency going up. We are talking about lifespan of panels going up. And we are also talking about non-silicon energy with 3D printing, where the cost will further come down. So we're not talking about when the industry gets very worried when we say that the costs are going down or the profits are coming down. But they need not, because if you look at the land labor capital, we are reducing the cost of capital, and going for floating solar, you are even cutting across land, and technology costs are coming down. So if you can go for a cost cutting and revenue maximization, more and more solar energy, today it's 3%. And we are talking about, more than 50% coming in from sun. And the solar derivatives, combining sun and wind, combining, solar and heating and electricity, or what you call the, thermal panels, and getting new areas, agro photovoltaics, or taking solar into the buildings, taking solar into transportation. So it is not merely electricity that we are talking, ISA talks about. ISA talks about taking the sun into different areas, which are quite important. Either you take directly or indirectly, but the entire transportation sector can be electrified. The buildings, sorry, through rooftop and non-rooftop things can be solarized. So when we are talking about solar revolution, it is entirely a friendship pact with the industry. And together, $1,000 billion is not enough. So in the second thing, we would like to create for the industry special purpose vehicles of finance. What exactly it means? It means, look at the way we access capital and the time it takes, the speed, skill, and scale. So we are proposing to create a World Solar Bank. It is a World plus Solar plus Bank. It is a World Bank, you're all familiar with, a Bretton Woods, financial instrument. We would like to create, and for that, we have taken a proposal to the Assembly. Last week, 14, 15, 16, 14th was the date when the Assembly met, and most member countries were present. We had 37 ministers. Sorry. Now, what they've done, they have constituted a team called International Steering Committee. And this steering committee is going to put the framework of the World Solar Bank. We're not talking much of money now. We're talking about $2 billion of paid-up equity, and over 5 years, $10 billion, and mobilize 4 times that money in the market, so $40 billion, and co-finance with others, part of it. So we're talking about at least $50 billion coming into the market. But then it is not like the World Bank alone, where you have very strict norms and all that. It is focused for sun. It understands the sun. It understands the speed, skill, and scale that we need. It understands the spirit of the industry, what they want. And it understands the member countries where also capital is more wanted. $150 billion we are getting in the solar market as investment every year. But most of it goes to limited number of countries. ISA would like this to flow to countries who need it most, small island countries. And we are also trying to put in mechanisms where industries in these countries could get against the sovereign guarantee of the of the country concerned, more access and easier access to affordable capital for solar projects. We're talking about community projects. We're talking about translating the 2 billion women I told and the 700 million people I told into a market, because nothing will grow on charity, and that is not what we want to happen. We want to convert the whole thing into a market so that technology, finance match, and the industry becomes our active partner. And what is the third thing that I was proposing? We can have a bank, a World Solar Bank. We can have programs and projects, but they're not going to work unless our member countries have the ability and the in-house capacity to actually implement those programs. We don't believe that R&D, knowledge, something can be actually imported into a country. A country has to stand up on its own in terms of R&D, in terms of projects, implementation skills. And for that, we have a variety of programs that ISA is doing now. We have got a MTech program, an MBA program, an undergraduate program, where we get mid-career engineers from our member countries, and they undergo a 2-year course in management in MTech. MBA is going to start this year. MTech has started. And the undergraduate program is focused at small and LDCs and developed island countries. But apart from that training and exchange, creation of a communication platform, Infopedia, creation of solar and technology and resource centers in each country, and training 35,000 people in solar mode, including engineers, farmers, in crop management, water management, soil management, rooftop management, mini-grid management, storage knowledge. So this we do for all the countries. With the, we are planning to take help of UNIDO and other UN organizations to move these programs. So all the three things, they not only incorporate the three principles I told of skill, scale, and speed, because that is what really counts for the industry. But not only we run programs in the three projects that I told, in all our programs and projects, we focus how actually to ensure skill, scale, and speed. And the World Solar Bank, we need your support. We need support of everyone to create this bank. But it is just not the creation of the solar bank that we're talking about. It is how it is going to actually make a difference in terms of making finance reach the industries, and at the shortest possible time, at affordable rates, so that solar projects can come up. And third thing is, what I told is capacity building. But I will tell you specifically what we have done, and what we all together can do. It of course costs some money to you, but that is not important. The important is that we have got a global platform now. It's called Coalition for Sustainable Climate Action. So, and who are the members of this coalition? We have around 18 companies, starting with SoftBank of Japan. Those have put some $2 million to our corpus, because as I told you in the beginning, we have no membership fee. So we have a corpus. And there is a Chinese company based in Hong Kong, solar, is called China Light Power. They put $1 million. And the Indian PSUs, 13, 14 of them, they put $1 million. Now, this is an exclusive body of these corporate partners. And the platform belongs to the corporate partners. But what do? We have put a CISCA coordinator. And these corporate partners, whatever issues they have, we do try to help them. Suppose they would like to reach out a country and at a very high level about something to make a presentation, we help them. And we give them the soft skills. We take their advice and assistance in shaping programs. And so it is just a help and help. So they help us and we help them in the way so that solar energy benefits. Now, even if we, the CISCA is the latest edition, but then we have many other things. We have a project called ISA Care. Now, this was entirely built up to help the hospitals which don't have electricity, in member countries, so that when the COVID vaccine comes, they can actually, put it. But the one thing that we have worked hard and the industry can greatly benefit is called One World, One Sun, One Grid. And that ISA is in charge of this. We are going to make it regional projects and we will projectize it. And that will greatly help the industry again. Essentially, we are trying to create projects for this thing. We have got a resource mobilization committee, and we have got a small biennial budget of $15 million. But there again, we focus how the industry can partner with us. And another thing that I would like to inform the industry that we bring out certain reports and it's free of cost to distribute among the industries, which will greatly help you. One is with the WRI, World Resource Institute, how to get $1,000 billion of investment. We do a project report with Einstein Young. It's called, the doing of, ease of doing solar business. And we also, the corporate partners I told, the State Bank of India or Energy Efficiency Services Limited, National Hydroelectric Power, Airport Authority of India, Bharat Petroleum, Coal India, Hindustan Petroleum. Now you see different sectors we have taken. We have taken coal, we have taken oil, because the idea we would like to engage is that anybody who can do anything for solar is good, and there is tremendous potential even in this fossil fuel industry to do for solar. And of course, at a global plane, we get a lot of some of the funding from India, South Africa. India is the host country, which has contributed $16 million purpose. It's equity. Then they give $2.5 million every year for the last 5 years. And recently, they're examining to give us some more money because in the absence of members' fee, the host country actually maintains us. But we've got some money from Australia for the ISA Care program, 0.5 million from Netherlands. We have got SARC Development Fund has given 0.5 million. World Bank has given 0.5 million. But we believe that if we have a good plan and we can deliver, then there will be no shortage of money in future. But I'm sure the most important player in all this, although members are in the ISA family, is the corporate sector. And we have a good plan because once Cisca has come, they themselves are trying to reach out to the industry. So I'll propose 3 things. A, if you give us a list of your industries and their addresses, we can keep engaging with them, not once in a year, but maybe every 3 months or 6 months. And B, if you can list out what exactly you need. Do you need new demand in countries or area-wise, region-wise? What type of storage or e-vehicles or what type of the demand that industry has? Or do you need any specific member country where you would like to have some knowledge about that country, or how to bring investment to that country, which will help the industry? And 3 is, if we have a global platform where regional industry associations all join, we would love to interact with that. On the whole, let us keep our dialogue open and let us create a roadmap which helps you and helps the globe to keep that 1.5 degree Celsius global mean temperature below what we have promised. And once again, thank you. Thank you for inviting. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm open now for the question and answer session.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tripathy. It's been really great hearing you talk about so many different items, that you have in the agenda. Clearly, the role for ISA or ISA is more and more relevant as time goes on. I mean, if we're hoping to head anywhere near the CO2 emission targets that we have, we need to build a lot faster too, and it needs to be a little bit more ubiquitous than it has been so far. Ahmed, I also invite you to unmute yourself, and if you want to add anything or do some questions or participate, please feel free. This is about
thank
a conversation.
You very much. Yes, no, really, thank you very much for this insights, Mr. Tripathy. I think the scale of these programs is phenomenal, actually, and which starts with what you just mentioned about solarizing the life by bringing, universal energy access to people. And when we hear the data that you presented about the impact of solarizing water pumps and how this can impact lives, it's an incredible, impact that can last for generations. So I think what we heard today, I think, is an extremely visionary, by all means, not only statements but programs that can really change the world. Hopefully, some of the politicians who are sometimes doubting the value of sustainable and solar energy in particular, and keep thinking in the past, could listen to you and get inspired and get the same enthusiasm that you have put into this session. The idea, I took some notes actually while you were talking about the word solar bank. I think this is a fantastic idea. It's and we spent in the Middle East here, if I remember, 6-7 years ago, significant amount of time. And Belen, you remember this when we were trying to bring the lenders to the table because they didn't understand the risk profile of our industry at the time, and they all thought that the solar industry is only an expensive solution, and they may want to do it just to please the political agenda of certain, situations, or elections or whatever. And I recall how much time we used to go around banks to convince them to send someone senior to understand how we're going to do the modeling of this, and that there's money to be made at the same time, and the risk profile is accurate and reasonable. So I think also you talked about the capacity building in countries, and that's a very, very critical element. We have seen it across, again, the evolution of the industry, even within the Middle East, has substantially imposed certain skill sets to be built, and we still have a long way to go. I think most of the programs today are emphasizing the local content, and a critical part of the local content actually is capacity building of the right people to be in the industry as they move on. I think again, one world, one sun, one grid. I closed my notes on this on these 3 points that you have pointed out very, very positively. And I just have one question really related to this that came to my mind. If you can answer this to us. We have seen something like that coming through the initiative of the Silk Road of China. And I remember the first meeting I had on this, on the Silk Road in the Middle East, when some of the Chinese delegation came and talked to us about it. They were talking about this huge grid that will start from China and ends up somewhere in Europe. So I would like to just ask you to elaborate more about the vision of one grid, if you don't mind, and how different or how similar is it to the China Silk Road ambitions, or is it part of it, or is it just a similar initiative, and do you really believe that this can be done? Thank you.
Good. Thank you for appreciating the World Solar Bank. I hope all your members, support it and become active partners. See, so far as ISA is concerned, it's a UN registered international body, so all countries are equal before it. The members in members category, and we'd love for USA and China to all become members. So far as projects are concerned, that contributes to solar is fine. When we are talking about one sun, one world, one grid, the fundamental thing is solar, the sun, and solar derivatives. So we are talking about not only dividing the world into regions which can be interconnected. Of course, we have a lot of interconnected technologies now. We have long distance, even trains, long distance communication lines. When we are talking about one sun, one world, one grid, this is just not a belt around the globe. It has to be crisscross like interstellar date line. And we are also talking about, we have to do a simulation in a big supercomputer about all the world's cities, the points of production of energy, the consumption points, the peak hours, the non-peak hours. And we have to harmonize things, find out what can be a smooth flow in terms of, utilizing the energy when it is surplus somewhere. And then we are also to connect the hotspots. Like there are some places where sun is plenty. There are some places where the derivatives like wind is plenty. Now, those points have to be interconnected. So we have 4 or 5 variables. A, points of generation of electricity. B, points of high time consumption, peak or non-peak consumption. Pricing, for example. And as and when storage comes, that has to be incorporated. So the one sun, one world, one grid, essentially we're talking about a harmonized simulation of the consumption and production pattern of energy today. It is not country specific. It can be India, it can be China, it can be even, Djibouti. When I visited, I found so many interesting, points of where we need more energy. So we are talking about technology also, how best it can be harmonized with the needs of the countries. And we are talking about the World Solar Bank to give some money, for this this project. So whether it, if some country or more countries have some such proposal, which can be a subset of this big project of Aisha, it is most welcome. So we are not talking about only one singular belt around the world, depending on the sun. We are talking about even green hydrogen can be linked to one sun, one world, one grid, because we can use solar and green hydrogen. But we are trying to minimize the cost of technology, cost of capital, and promote universal energy access. So the one sun, one world, one grid will be for this purpose. And if any project of any country is in that direction, it becomes a subset of this. We work collectively, and that is the collective ambition that we are talking about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tripathy. I have a question. I need to be the devil's advocate here. Someone has to be like asking the difficult questions. And I wonder, in your vision, I really loved your, your idea of the World Solar Bank. But what is the difference between the World Solar Bank that you're proposing and, scaling solar by the IFC, or the World Bank itself, just carrying out a specific maybe solar task, in the sense that, these guys have experience, they already have the people who can carry out these projects, they know how, they have the access to the funds. Are you proposing an entirely new way of sourcing money? Are you proposing a new channel to bring it? I just want to understand, how does it differ from what's already there and how it adds value?
See, this will differ the three small things I showed to you. The what, which means this bank will have to deal with things with speed. Because if you are constructing a coal power based plant, it takes 4 years. Okay, a solar plant, even 1,000 megawatt, takes 8 months. So, are we in a position to finalize a loan within 2 months, so that the industry can go and build it within 8 months? And the skill, you need a different generation to understand the sun, understand the solar, and the way it progresses, to understand climate, requirement. The person in World Solar Bank will be equally sensitive towards the cities that will drown if the sea goes up, or the countries which are facing problems. So we are talking about skill, we are talking about scale. When I told 2 billion women, I talked about 700 million. This bank will put active things in place to convert them into a market with the help of industry. We cannot just say that they are poor, so they will continue to be poor, and they will have no access to our finance.
So it's like microcredits. Microcredits.
So, yes. And then you find that this bank has to come up with new ways. We listed out, there are 18 countries in Asia who can never access the money in World Bank because they are in the list of stress list. It's like, declaring somebody as a cardiac patient, saying that, look, you have issues, you can't run the marathon. You just stay beside and look at the marathon, how it is moving. And of course, they are changing. I mean, World Bank is coming up with, trying to have 50% for renewable energy. They have been very helpful to us. But this bank, I would suggest, it talks solar, it thinks solar, and it solves solar.
It's a tweak, right, in the way that they approach the products, from what you said, in terms of speed, and a tweak in the way they approach, I suppose,
scale and speed, yes.
Yeah. It's a mix between banks. I understand. So let me ask you a couple of the questions that we've gotten in, if that's okay. These are from the audience, okay?
Yeah.
Here, there's someone that says 24 member countries had submitted their off-grid solar pump requirements, and ISA did price discovery exercise and valued a total of 2.7 billion. However, the countries are yet to see any installation, and it has been over a year since the exercise. What's your take on this? How are things progressing?
In fact, I must say we are struggling with that issue, because what we did, we decided that we all must run. It's good for exercise. So we arranged a marathon. We brought people together. We all stood there. We got good shoes to run and good, dress to wear and all that. But we need people to run, and we just can't force them to run. Now, but the point is, these 22 countries, you will find the maximum political determination. In fact, Sudan, for example, I was so impressed with the aspirations of the ministers there. They would like 80,000 solar pumps, but they're in the stress list. They can't access international finance. And but I mean, look at a country like India. India says they will have 2.7 million solar pumps, and 60% grant comes from the province, 30% from the federal government, 10% from the farmer. So happily, they can roll it out. But most of the countries, our countries, the 22 countries who have become party to this program, they don't have that much of budget to give the pump as a grant. And the payback period in pump takes time. So we reduced the price by 40%. That itself was a great incentive for these countries to come forward. And but there are countries like Senegal, which is a member of these 22 countries. There, the cost of electricity is 16 cents per kilowatt hour, and solar is only 9 cents. So when you go for solar, the farmer benefits, you pay less, the bank benefits. So we are now trying to find out the number of countries where, like Senegal, by going solar, you're saving money. The bank itself should be happy to lend. But the countries where the cost of electricity either is less or the access to finance is poor, we have to find ways to find out how these 22 countries can actually benefit. Now, second way that has come now, 6 countries in Africa, they have come under a scheme that we started, World Bank, actually we incubated, World Bank took it. It's called SRMI, Solar Risk Mitigation Initiative. That is where the cost of capital comes down and the farmers can access. So 6, 7 countries now in a position, to take up these pumps. But still another 15 countries, for example, a small island country like Tonga needs only 258 pumps. And they need to apply to the Exim Bank of India saying that, okay, we need a soft loan. Because France has put in $2 billion of soft loan. India has put in France has put in 1 billion euros and 0.5 billion, I think they added, and India has put $2 billion. So money we have also organized. Pre-feasibility study, we also made through KPMG and we gave it to the financing agencies. Now we have brought the agencies together and the countries together. They have to deal with each other, how to finalize a financial transaction. And that is where I will appeal to the industry. Those companies who participate in the bid, they should go to the government. They should also highlight the benefits of solar and climate change. And they should also play as a positive partner so that the governments, make the financial arrangements for their farmers.
Thank you very much. Actually, there's a lot of questions around this program that you just mentioned, the SRMI and the financing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read you because they're all very similar, yet they kind of like hit at different angles. So I just want to put them out there so that maybe you can expand in certain areas where you think, So one of them says, could you give us some detail on the support of the IFIs, such as the World Bank or bilateral institutions such as the African Development Bank in the SRMI, which you kind of answered, that they've taken over, but like maybe a little bit more detail on that. Then
I must tell you, in last 2.5 years, SRMI has made a headway. World Bank has put in some $330 million. And if I'm correct, France, AFD has promised $55 million, or they put that much. They've applied for $400 million or $500 million from Green Climate Fund. So if all this money comes together, 500 million, 55 million, and 400, the numbers may be here and there, you get around $1,000 million together. Now, how this money is used is essentially the money will be in the bank and you will take a loan. Suppose you default, then a portion of that money will be coming as sort of assistance. And right now, not many projects have been financed on that because they're putting the things together. And between ISA member countries and SRMI countries, the 23 they have covered, we have 6 common countries for which now we are working more intensively, bringing the World Bank and the AFD, the Green Climate Fund, and the countries together. So we can only go to that extent, bring together, facilitate, like all international organizations. And but I wish we had the power or the magic, to go and put the pump on day one. But look at Mali. Mali, for example, even without SRMI, World Bank created a fund for Mali, and some 5 megawatt of rooftop they have put. Costs have come down, and that World Bank is now trying to take it to other countries. So Mali is a member of ours, and so even country-specific funds can be created through World Bank and others, which can be used to subsidize the cost of capital, and solar projects and programs can come. That is what we are now trying. For example, from Mali, we are taking to other island countries, where then similar type of projects can come up with some sort of credit enhancement mechanisms so that the cost comes down, the cost of capital comes down. But internationally, it takes a little long time. I told you, I mean, the speed, the scale and scale. So, but they're doing a wonderful thing, particularly the World Bank, AFD, and Green Climate Fund. If they can put around $1,000 million together as a fund to assist solar projects, and there is a guarantee to the industry that if it fails or the payment is not there, that risk is covered, then more and more industry will come in with more and more money.
Indeed. I just wanted to just point out that I made a mistake earlier. I said African Development Bank, but I was actually the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD.
Yes,
so
AFD,
you corrected that. Thank you very much. Okay, a bunch of questions here, still on that same link. You know, how do you expect to link the ISA, for example, to green hydrogen? You know, or how do you expect this World Solar Bank to link with the SRMI? And also, how do you actually access to the solar bank finance? You know, like, are you dedicated to a certain size of project? So how, you know, what does it take to get there? Just, I'm giving you a mix of questions because we don't have a lot of time, and maybe you can hint on some of them.
Yeah, see, you know, right now it is a conceptual stage, right? The Assembly has created an international steering committee, which has India and France and the 8 vice presidents, 3 international experts, and the DG, of course, as members of the steering committee. Now, this steering committee will actually give a counter about, you know, how to raise capital, how to access it. Essentially, they will build the framework for the World Solar Bank. And but then the main focus will be how to redress the issues of skill, scale, and speed. How countries can access. Those are the 3 areas they will focus, and how to see that money actually goes to the countries, those who need. And will they go by, you know, right now there is something called sovereign guarantee, and many countries don't give that sovereign guarantee or can't give that sovereign guarantee. Now, why don't you accept corporate guarantee in return or something like that? You know? So they have to come up with, that is why these 3 experts will be there. We will find out what problems our, you know, member countries have and how we can address those problems of time, you know, speed, skill and scale. And about collaboration with the World Bank is a partner. In fact, the Secretary General of the UN supported the World Bank, and the other day, many countries have supported, UK has supported the World Solar Bank now, and in COP26, we are going to make something on the One Sun, One World, One Grid, and the One World Solar Bank. So, so when the framework or the, you know, the roadmap is laid, these issues will be addressed. Now, SRMI is essentially a credit enhancement mechanism. We are thinking that the World Solar Bank will be 2 sections, one for insurance, and the insurance will be linked to the cost of, you know, reduction of cost of capital. If you have a good insurance mechanism that addresses all the risks that you have, you know, political, off-taker risk, everything, the cost of capital itself will come down. And then the bank should have also some sort of, you know, trust fund, which can go to small island countries, LDCs, where the cost of capital can be brought down. And then the bank must have a promotion agency for industry in terms of investment promotion, which we have the ISA Invest, you know. So it is going not only purely a financing body saying that, look, you take money, you give me a guarantee and return the money and I'm safe. It is not. It is going to be a proactive role it will play, the bank, you know, partnering with the industry and the member countries so that collectively together we push this forward. It won't be a purely mechanical bank, you know, just give money and we charge interest. If you don't put, we put, you know, compounded interest and we go ahead. No, it's not that. So the World Solar Bank will be different. It understands the sun, when I told you, it understands speed, skill, and scale. And then it is designed for the members and understand their needs. So, and these are the issues that the International Steering Committee of the World Solar Bank will address.
So sun, speed, and scale. I really like that. I think that, you know, that's a very good motto to have, for sure. And there's the 3 S's, right? Okay,
yes,
so we don't have a lot more time now, unfortunately. I just like to ask you one last question and then we'll say goodbye. But just wanted to say, you know, that, well, first let me ask the question and then I'll tell you that. It's a question here about the status of solar home systems. How many companies are shortlisted for the home systems on the first phase, and can some additional companies join? So this is a very specific question. So.
Oh yeah, you know, there is a company called Public Sector Undertaking in India called EESL, if they can Google, and this is called Energy Efficiency Services Limited. in their web page, the tender is still on. And they have extended by a few days, I think up to 2nd of November or something. They had a pre-bid meeting where there are some 90 or more than 90 companies attended. They had certain queries they have been addressed in terms of, who can bid and how much, turnover they should have to bid and all those things. So I would request the industry who are interested should go to the website, see the bids and participate in terms of bidding.
Well, thank you very much. That was the last question. So I'd just like to thank you. And I'm going to allow also Ahmed if he wants to add anything. But I'd just like to thank you for your time. And also from Martin and the Messia team, I'd like to very much thank you for your time and for agreeing to participate in this webinar. And also from our side at Data Insights. And Ahmed, if you want to add anything, before
no,
we say
thank you
goodbye.
very much. We really appreciate again the insights and the vision. And I think this was again giving a fresh look at what is the future for the industry with much more pragmatic approaches to scale it up to a new level, actually, from country to the world. We thank you, Mr. Tripathy, for your contribution and for your being with us today. And we look forward to meeting you hopefully sometime soon in Abu Dhabi, if you will be participating to the World Future Energy Summit as well.
COVID permitting, right?
And yes, and thank you very much to all our members who always come and join to listen to the new programs of Messia.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Let us keep the dialogue open.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sound, speed, and scale, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.